Rob, you were one of the authors of this letter to the editor regarding the problem with drug and alcohol addicted folks down near Beans Cafe. Good morning.
That's correct, Dan. Good morning.
Your letter, which was co-written by you got almost a dozen people who helped contribute to this. At least it paints a really grim picture of what's happening down there.
Well, Dan, the reason, really one of the reasons I wanted to call in on behalf of the Third Avenue community, I wanted to thank you for the exposure to the issue and thank you for discussing it on your show. Our particular neighborhood and our community has been, first of all, for those of the listeners that don't know, my family's been at 3rd and Hyder since 1950. We've been there decades before these facilities ever existed. So we've watched the continual and steady deterioration of our community over the last 3.5 decades. And it's been continuous, it's been slow, but in the last probably 24 months, we've sort of hit rock bottom as a community. It has gotten so bad, the property theft has gotten so bad, the public fornication, the defecation, the syringes in my backyard, all of these things. We can no longer sit silently and have this done to us. That we are hanging on by a thread and we're fighting to take back our properties in our neighborhoods.
What does the city need to be doing that it's not doing?
Just a couple months ago, the city's proposal to save lives, and you're probably familiar with this, was to spend $4 million on a channelization project and give these people double the sidewalk capacity. And I thought, that doesn't make any sense. It's not going to solve the problem. You must address the street culture. You must address the public drinking. You must address the criminal activity. You must address the fact that these people are running around with bolt cutters, cutting our fences regularly and stealing from us. Until you crack down on the criminal element, nothing will change on 3rd Avenue. That's the answer. The answer is, in my opinion, continual 24-hour police presence at 3rd and Carluck. And that's what needs to be done to clean up that mess. We don't need more laws. We don't need more ordinances. What we need is the city to enforce the laws and use the tools that they already have. And they're just not doing that. It has gotten significantly worse in the last 2 years.
What do you attribute that to? What's the escalation caused by?
There is a distinct shift in the demographic of this population. So many people think, we're talking about the helpless homeless, right? And they all just need help. Well, that's not the case. There is a growing number of young, able-bodied, entrepreneurial people who are getting by preying on the communities in which they live and camp near. These are not people who are not physically, that have physical disabilities or mental disabilities. They are just people who are choosing not to follow societal norms and engage in this community. But we're feeding them, we're providing them shelter if they want it, which most of them don't. They would, they would much rather be in their tents in the woods where they can conceal their illegal activities. They don't understand what we go through every single day on East 3rd Avenue.
That's just infuriating. That kind of lawlessness is allowed. The people shouldn't have to deal with that. These are people who live and work in an area where the government has said we will not enforce the law.